So, hello Elvis again. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to go over your video analysis. What I'll do is basically put all your films that I've done for you together, and I'll hold certain frames, and I'll also do some rewinds to show you some certain things, and then also I'll slow-mo some stuff so you can see it a little bit clearer. So all that done, what we're going to do is we're going to head straight into it. So this is the first start bit. This bit is basically, we've got you going underneath the water. This is when we first got you in. As you can see, if I'll rewind it here. So what we'll see is once I've rewinded it to the right point, we've got your body position there. As you can see, it looks a little bit, legs are hanging low, as we said in the session, and head's quite high up. So we'll replay that just at a little bit of a slow-mo there, and I'll drop a frame in there that will, when I hold the frame, I'll put a little line on there, and it will show you how the angle that we're looking at there. Okay. From that there, what we can see then is we go over the top. Actually, when we look over the top of your stroke, I'll put a line on it again there, so I'll freeze frame it at that point. Looking at that point there, your arms aren't actually crossing over the centre line, which is quite good. So I'll put a little line across. You'll see your arms don't actually cross over that centre point, which is a good thing we're looking for. It causes a lot of issues when your arms cross over. So in terms of a positive, your arms don't cross over there, but what you can see there is a lot of head, and your legs are obviously hanging low. You can also see, if you notice, your hips also come a little bit disjointed out of the line. Those are other issues that we went later on and we also slightly corrected. Okay, so now this is when we are still over the top of the body. As you see, when you're rolling over, you see those hips motoring around, so you've got actually good hip rotation going on there, but in some cases it's actually just a little bit too far. So what we're going on to now is seeing you from the front angle over underneath the water. See here, we can see your legs hanging low, but those arms aren't actually slipping the water there at all. So when I say not slipping the water at all, I mean not crossing over the centre point, which is a good sign, as I said last time. But what we do see is when you're looking, I'll highlight it in this area now. We can see you staring straight at me. I don't know if that was on purpose, but no. What this is, we can see here is basically your head's just a little bit too high. One of the points we discussed over, and those legs are hanging low. There's other points that I'll bring out later, but in terms of all those points there have been noted. When we're going through these films and that, when I'm holding frames, don't feel what's his name at all, just to go back and actually have a re-look at them. So basically just scrub back through this video, and then you can re-watch them and then actually see those places. Okay, so what we're moving on to next. So this is the next step here. This is once we got you putting your head a little bit low in the water, which you can see. I'll draw a line on you now. So I've held frame. We've got you a little bit low in the water, and what we can see here from holding this frame is the line across shows you how much flatter you are, and those hips are a lot higher in the water, which is what we're looking for. You also look a little bit more streamlined in the water, which is a good sign because we're moving somewhere there at least. So that's good. Okay, we'll continue playing. I'll put this on a little bit of a slow-mo so you can see how your movement's going through that water. We continue going through that there, but that body position is looking quite good there. This is going on to the next bit now. This little frame here that I've put in here is where we've put the kickboard in between your legs. From putting the kickboard in between the legs, as you can see, it's really propped up your hips, which is good because they're on the surface of the water. But what that's actually done with you is you've continually thought about putting that head underneath the water, which is good. But in terms of in this case, your drill's taken it a little bit too far. So if I slow-mo, you'll see how far underneath your head is to your bum basically, and it just causes you to have to leap up, as you can see, and get some breath. Okay. So once we got rid of that float, this is when we were trying to work on those arms. So when I was trying to get you those high elbows, obviously we have some mobility issues, which can be eradicated over time. But over that period, what we'll do is I'll slow-mo this a little bit, and going through the motions, as you can see, the splash compared to the beginning is a lot less, as I was saying, in the pool. If I also show you what we were talking about, the 45-degree angle, it's quite hard to get when you're coming in on your right arm. Actually, it's quite close, but what happens is your elbow's just not high enough to actually attain that 45-degree angle onto that water, which means that's where the slap comes in. I'll put a little thing in there showing you the water line and where what position your hand should basically be entering the water. I'll freeze frame it for you there. But apart from that, it looks a lot smoother than what we first got you at when you're a bit slapping, but that's not a problem. Cool. Next one is okay, so we've got an underwater shot now going on. In this underwater shot, what you can see is we've got a lot of straight arms going through the water. So when I spoke to you around catching those arms, so bending them before we have a straight arm, it's something that's quite important, because if we've got a straight arm under the water, we're not actually catching a lot of water as much as we might think we are. What we're looking for is to catch a little bend in the arm. So you basically want to keep that arm at a 90-degree angle at your elbow, and having your arm at that 90-degree bend at your elbow really helps catch that water forward and move you forward. But what we can also see is, with moving our head that we've gone through all the session, your body position is actually quite good. Your leg kick, your rotation through on the water is actually very good in terms of when we're talking about your rotation through everything. If we looked at you again from that head position in this motion, we wouldn't see you oscillating outside of every area and all that, but it'd be in a tight circle. So that's good. If we also look at your legs here, just another little point, when we try and get you down to that little flutter kick, you see this legs, I'll put a little line on it now, but this line over here indicates that the leg's basically gone just a little bit too far. So we're not looking to kick as much of this in the water. It just basically causes you to put a little bit out of line, so it doesn't really help that much. Cool. So what happens next is, I think we've got you over the top of the water. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we've got you going in those high elbows. Those entries are actually looking a little bit better than before, but as we can say, when you're getting a little bit tired, it becomes a little bit more slappy at the end. Those legs kicks just a little bit too wide, but your hips are actually quite good on the surface there. They're at least coming up, which is sometimes is quite a bit of a struggle for some people, but your legs are coming up to the surface. As I said, we've got your head there in a good position, which is what one of the main things we're looking at with you here. But if you see those arms when you get tired, so I'll scrub back now to right at the beginning. We've got your arms, and I'll do a slow-mo. We've got your arms going at quite an okay angle going into the water, and when you get tired, basically those arms become very straight and still, and they're basically swinging across the top of the water, and that's what causes most of the splash in the end. But it's not too bad. You are moving through the water and that head's low, and so those hips and those legs aren't feeling as low. What we've got at the end now is we've got an underwater shot. You're going through the water. If I freeze frame this frame there now, what we can see is basically, if you look at that position, that's very good. That is exactly what we're looking for in the position of your swimming. Your hips are nice up high, your hands nice and stretched out forward. Your head's in an okay position. It could go slightly lower, but in terms of where we came from, it's 100 times better. When we move this frame a little bit forward, so I'll slow-mo it a little bit, the only issue we come across is when that hand's pulling through, as I said about that straightness, we want to try and get that hand to glide on the top of the surface almost, so just a little bit under. So I'll draw a line where we want to glide just for a little bit. What happens obviously is you're pulling straight away, and so that hand disappears, which gives you this motion, if I slow-mo, of you almost lunging in forward, but you've got a good push foot through forward, and your body position's looking very good there. So good job there. I think I've got some stills of this. No, it continues through. But as you can see, I'll pause it there again. So when your hand comes in, the first thing that it does is it dives underneath the water, rather than pushes through on top, not on top of the water, but when it hits that water, it pushes through. At the moment, it's hitting the top of the water and just pulling. We're looking for just a little bit of a glide. That will also help you on your rotation. But if we look at this is at the end of the length. I'll record it back to the beginning. At the beginning, you can see how high your legs are compared to once I've reversed it all the way through there. I'll take it back. We can go all the way forward, and we can compare it now to what we can see at the top, where your legs start to drop, just because it's just tired and fatigued, but that's not an issue. So what I'll do now is I'll basically pull up a screen which will give you some points that you can work on and go through, and some good points of yours as well. After that, I'll stick in some videos, so just some slow-mo videos of you swimming, probably a beginning and end one to show you a comparison, and some other videos, so you don't have to have some of these graphics that I'm showing you the areas with them all the time, so you can always scrub to the end of the video and watch all these videos in a whole segment. But apart from that, thank you again, Lviss, and all the best with the swimming.